Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Tributes are being paid to the 5 men killed on board the Titan submarine in what US officials say was a catastrophic implosion. The victims were Hamish Harding Shahzada Darwood and his son Suleiman Darwood, Paul Henry Nargolay and Stockton Rush. It's emerged the US Navy originally detected an acoustic anomaly consistent with an implosion shortly after the Titan lost contact on Sunday. A robotic diving vehicle found major fragments of the submarine on the sea floor about 1,600 feet from the Titanic shipwreck on Thursday. James Cameron, director of the 1997 Titanic film, who has completed 33 dives to the wreck, said he suspected a disaster after the sub went missing.
Look, Monday morning when I first found out about the incident, got on a whole bunch of calls and emails. It's a small community. Within an hour and a half, I had the following information. They were on descent. They were at 3,500 feet. They lost comms and tracking. The last one being the critical one, because the transponder that's used to track a sub during descent and on the bottom is a fully autonomous system. It's in its own pressure housing and it has its own battery power. So for them to lose comms and tracking at the same time, sub was gone. There was no question in my mind. For days, I tried to run other scenarios that could account for it. I could come up with nothing.
The French president says wealthy nations have finalized an overdue $100 billion climate finance pledge to developing countries.
D'abord, il y a eu durant ce sommet des choses très concrètes qui ont été obtenues.
President Emmanuel Macron was speaking at a final panel of a summit in Paris where some 40 leaders, including 24 from Africa, China's Prime Minister and Brazil's President. The summit's objective is to boost crisis financing for low-income states and ease their debt burden. The $100 billion pledge falls far short of poor nations' actual needs, but has become symbolic of wealthy countries' failure to deliver promised climate funding. At least 227 migrants have been rescued off Spain's Canary Islands, a day after reported deaths of more than 30 migrants there. Emergency services and the Coast Guard say the migrants were travelling on inflatable boats near the Lanzarote and Gran Canaria Islands. A number of them were taken to hospital to be treated for mild conditions. Spanish authorities said rescue workers found the bodies of a minor and a man and rescued 24 other people. US President Joe Biden and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi have hailed a new era in their country's relationship after the White House rolled out the red carpet for the Indian Prime Minister.
Toast to our partnership, to our people, to the possibilities that lie ahead. Two great friends, two great nations, and two great powers. Cheers.
Though the countries are not formal treaty-bound allies and India has long relished its independence, Washington wants Delhi to be a strategic counterweight to China. During Modi's visit, the two countries announced agreements on semiconductors, critical minerals, technology, space cooperation, defence cooperation and sales. There are calls for calm in Sierra Leone a day before the 5th presidential election since the end of a 1991-2002 civil war in which more than 50,000 people were killed. Voting will take place on Saturday with incumbent President Julius Maada Bio seen as the front-runner, despite a tough challenge from Samura Kamara of the opposition All People's Congress. Violence broke out around Sierra Leone's main opposition party headquarters on Wednesday, killing at least one person. Around 3.4 million Sierra Leoneans are expected to vote. And Brazilian officials say construction on a mansion belonging to Brazilian soccer star Neymar has been halted due to environmental violations. An argument between the soccer player's father and environmental officials was caught on camera at the gates of the residence. The local government's Environment Secretariat said the luxury project violated rules regarding land use and movement of freshwater sources. If the violations are proven, Neymar could be forced to pay at least 5 million reais or $1 million in fines. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.